Welcome to a SNEV podcast. Hello everyone, we're back with another episode of a SNEV podcast. In this episode, I have two very special guests. They are the ones who have helped keep this community, the SNEV community, strong and growing after 4 years. Our guests for this episode are Amir and Sara, the former presidents of the SNEV. Joining us is Yunus, a new member of the podcast team, and I'm really happy to have him here. Before we start the podcast and this episode, don't forget to subscribe to us on podcast apps like Anchor, Spotify, and Castbox. Also, please like and leave us a comment. We need your feedback. Well, hello Sarah and Amir. I'm so glad you accepted our invitation. We are in the same team, but still, thank you so much. I would appreciate it if you could introduce yourself a bit more to our listeners.
I am Sara. I am originally from Portugal. I did my PhD at Cardiff University working with extracellular vesicles, and then I started my postdoc at the Massachusetts General Hospital Harvard Medical School in Boston with Shannon Stott. It is an engineering lab, so it's like news to me to try to work with engineers and being like in charge of the biology part. It was during my PhD, the last or second to last year of my PhD, that Amir got in touch to tell us about starting a network online, and he put together a couple of people, and after a few meetings, that's how SNEV started. I was vice president of SNEV first, and now I am the current president and soon to be past president of SNEV. Since SNEV now is part of the ISEV as the early career researcher community, I am a member at large in the education committee to try to join and make the SNEV ISEV the junction go smoothly.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Amir, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hello Nazanin, Yunus, and Sara, and hello everyone. So my name is Amir Nasiri. I'm currently a postdoctoral researcher in Aiko Hoshino Laboratory at the University of Tokyo. So like Sara, I'm also working on extracellular vesicles, and I did my PhD at Lathrop University in Melbourne in Australia. And so we had started this SNEV back in, I think it was about 4 years ago, so probably around same time in May, June 2020. And yeah, so that's for introduction. So
Okay.
happy to answer more specific question later.
Okay. Yeah. As you heard there, you are not my guest. You are the SNEV owners.
No.
We did all together.
Yeah. Nobody wants SNEV, it's from everyone.
Yeah, and I remember the first meeting that we had for SNEV. I was one of the very first members, and it was a meeting. Sophie, if I'm right, Sophia was the host of that meeting, and it was 4 a.m. again in Iran, and I joined the meeting. I was like, okay, I have to be in this community because I want to work on EV. I was very excited about it, and SNEV was one of my best experience in studying biology. Okay, what happened, Amir, and this idea comes to your mind? The started community.
Yes. As you were saying about this, I was thinking about 4 years ago. So back in 2020, so I was actually, when I was at Melbourne Lathrop University, I used to see there are many students joining other student network, like student researching in cancers or immunology. or stem cells. And then back then I just realized that it's probably there's a gap in the EV research where we don't have a student network or a student society. And while that I was thinking about that, also the coronavirus was really heated, and it was during the lockdown, and it was during my PhD as well. So I used to spend lots of time in home, or if I used to go to laboratory, it was only a few hours in a day. So I just like I used to think a lot about how I can just create some international level network or society for students. So back then I was also contacting with Nima Khalili, so who's also current ECM of the SNEV. So Nima and I, and also then later Nima Shad Mehri as well as Puya. So we had one call and we said, okay, how about we should have some network or society? And then back then, so we had this conversation, but nobody know how to start it. And also we should remember that back in 2020, the Zoom thing and also the virtual meeting and also this intensive online meeting was not a common day by day like today what we're experiencing. So anyway, so I said okay, I said to them I will take the initiation, and then what I did was I went to my Twitter and LinkedIn, and then just randomly I've gone through all my friend lists and also followers, and then I said okay, how can I start the network? So one way to do that, I want to scale it in international level, so not domestically. So I wanted to have international student on board. So what I did was I went through my Twitter and the LinkedIn, and then I said, okay, so Johnny, she's from New Zealand, so that's good that she will cover the New Zealand, and then myself is in Australia. Now I need to go to find someone in Europe, and then like that I found, for example, Sara, and then I said, okay, Nima is from Iran, and Puya is from Iran, and then I said, okay, so now we need to have someone from US, and that's what when I contacted Shipra and other members. So what happened was that within probably 2 to 3 days, I was able to message to 12 or 11 members that I've never met them, and I don't know them at all. All I knew was that they are in my followers or I'm their followers. So that's all, and they are international students working on exosomes. And then I just sent them email and said that idea. I have this idea, like exactly what Sarah mentioned. I have this idea, and if you are interested to join, so let me know. And then what was interesting is that all the 12 or 11 members that I've sent email or message, they said yes. And I was actually excited and also super surprised, like with getting such a positive response. And then we organized the meeting, and the meeting was virtual, but that was my first time organizing virtual meeting. Again, that goes back to we are talking about 2020, so it was the very first days of having all these meetings virtually. And then yeah, so we started the meeting. I mean, it was very stressful time because I myself alone, and then I had this box of 12 people that I don't know at all, and I need to just do ice breaking and also introduce everyone. And from where I'm gonna start, it was a bit challenging. Anyway, so story short, so we started introducing each other, and we said, okay, the very first thing we need to do is we need to name the network and also create the logo. And then from there, we had kind of like, for example, someone nominated themselves that they can do, for example, designing, and then someone said, okay, I can help you with the other part of the SNEP, not the SNEP, the network. And then we said, okay, we give some time, so we came up with some name and the logo, and then we also introduced the position. For example, what would be the responsibility of the president, what would be the responsibility of vice president, and we defined some guidelines, and those guidelines came from my previous background being as a president of the Bayesian Society at Lothrop University. That was a year before that, so it was 2019 to 2020. So I had some background there, so I just defined some guideline. I did also some search about how to create a society. And then within ourselves, we nominated ourselves. For example, someone said I want to be president, like myself, and then someone said I want to be like secretary. So we all agreed for the team. So we started finally around June 2020 the student network on extracellular vesicles. So that's how everything started. So I was president for 2 years, and then 2022 I become past president till today, I think, and then I think soon, yeah, Sarah would become past president, and I'll be still part of the SNEP, but more working in the background. Yeah, that was, I think, not very short, but some some of the key points that I can remember from how we started the SNEV.
Yeah.
But happy if you have any question more specific, happy to answer those as well. Sara, help me if I miss something.
No, I think that's all I can remember. I can remember that some of the meetings, like, they were 5 a.m. UK, because we were like really into, everyone was together with all these attend, and I remember many times meeting at like 5 a.m. UK, 12 p.m. UK. And I remember that one of the first things that Amir did on that first meeting was he had different extracellular vesicles, and he made us choose which extracellular vesicle we were. They were like little ones with like different proteins or different. It was very cute. Yeah, I remember that. And I also remember that one of the first ideas that Amir had was for us to be like a journal club, because at the time Ken hadn't started the EV journal club, so there was no journal club in the field. But as Amir had that idea, Ken started the journal club, so we kind of like, we're not going to have two EV journal clubs, so we kind of went to like, let's do something broader and that can help people like in different things. That's why we came up with like having the postdoc talks, because when SNEP started, we had like 3 pillars, which were the postdoc talks. For like, we would invite postdoc people to like talk about their research, talk about their PhD experience, how they went to a postdoc, is that going, how was the change. And then we had industry talks, where we had not postdoc people, PhD people that went to industry directly, or postdocs that went to industry, and just telling us how were their choice to move on, what was their work, how was everything going, what's the difference between working in industry and academia. And then another one that we had at the time was the coffee catch-ups, because we were new, and at the time it was like COVID, so everyone was like at home, so we had a coffee catch-up, so people could just join for like half an hour, 45 minutes, meet people like from all around the world also working on EVs. And I think it was quite nice, because you couldn't, like, many people, I couldn't leave the house, like I couldn't go to my lab, so those like coffee catch-ups was how I could like meet other people. There were no conferences, there were no workshops, so it was quite nice during that time to like just try to get everyone together and seeing the network grow. And yeah, that's what I remember from like those earlier times, like everyone just like coming together to get to know each other, putting something together for everyone. So it was a really nice time.
Yes, did you remember those days? Were you one of our member or not?
No. I think I joined very recently. I joined beginning of this year, towards the end of last year, and so I only saw SNEV in its final form now. Maybe not its final form, but in its full totality now, and it's that I think that's what really attracted me. And I had no idea who was involved. I had no idea what was going on. So when I came and met everyone for the first time, it was really wow. Yeah, hearing the story from Amir and Sarah of how it started, it sounds really organic. And just a question, maybe Sarah can answer this first. I mean, Amir kind of mentioned his motivation to kind of start this, but what was your motivation to join?
I thought that like the idea, Amir just presented the idea of like, let's just do something to bring all the ECRs together. And I really like science communication, helping people to thrive in science, getting together, not just like the science, but like how do you move within the science like environment, networking, helping people like developing career like capacities, and developing just like self, not just like science stuff, but like a lot of like your own self stuff. So I thought that we had like ISEV, which was like really big in terms of like the science, putting together the papers, the guidelines, and there wasn't anything like really just directed to the ECRs on the EV field. And something that I was very passionate about at the time was the amount of people that were doing EV research in labs that were not EV labs. So the supervisor just worked in, I don't know, like diabetes. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, let's try to look at extracellular vesicles in diabetes. But they didn't have like anything set for the students to work on EVs. So when SNEV started, a lot of the people that came to us were people that weren't from EV labs. They were just in, like Maimona. I remember Maimona, she was like with us since the start, and she was always like, nobody knows about extracellular vesicles. Nobody knows how to help me, how to isolate them, how to characterize them. What do I do? And at the time, I thought that like putting together something that could help the students to just like thrive in their fields was like what kind of captivated me the most. So I thought that Amir was like having a great idea to put this together, and I just wanted to help.
Yeah. Did you have any goal to put on planet that maybe after 2 years, okay, SNEV will achieve these things. We will be in this place or being part of ISEV. Did you think about these things at first, or no? You just wanted to have a community of researchers and students?
So I believe this is question to me, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, so talking about the goal, I think the main goal was to connect the student globally, and also back then I used to see many students coming from the very well-funded laboratory are capable of traveling internationally to for the conferences, for exchange programs. However, there were students from some countries where they were not able to do that. So I thought maybe, given that it's like a coronavirus time, that things are started to become virtually, then I thought maybe this would be a good opportunity for just giving this a chance to the students that are coming from the countries where they never get given the opportunities to travel abroad, so they can actually present their research or they can have some network. And so my goal was that they can create some network or they can learn the leadership skills. So once they have done their PhD or once they become independent, so they do have these experiences and they have a good network of researchers. For example, now so Sara, myself, Niman, all of us, including you guys, so we've been working for a few years together, right? So the future generation or the future scientist generation would be us, and we don't need to wait for 10 years from now to be able to collaborate or to be able to just knowing each other. So we already started the networking. We already know each other. So I think in the EV community, I think we are so lucky that the young generations, including us, we have a really strong link. So that was kind of things that I predicted to be happen. I was predicting that if we get together earlier during our master's, undergrad, or PhD, so in 10 years time, once we become independent, so we already know each other, we have the link, so that would help us a lot in terms of moving faster in science. So I predicted that kind, and I think we are actually hitting that direction.
Yeah.
I did not predicted what would be happen in terms of this SNEP structure, and because I was not like really wanted to have like everything under myself or the initial team. I thought maybe this is not meant to be like that. So we are very flexible in terms of like how the structure going to move forward, as long as I think Sarah knows that as long as the ECR is involved and as long as we give this opportunity as fair to all the students and early career researchers. I really wanted to have students to have the voice in terms of decision making. So students can decide what sort of podcast we have. Students can decide how a SNP coffee catch-up is going to be. So I just wanted everyone to experience those things while they are study, and then once they become, independent, so they already have this experience. And then, yeah, then I think in starting in after 1 year or so, so we decided to work closely with ISEV, and ISEV also really supported us for our first virtual conference. So that was everything we kind of started from there. And I think soon you will hear good news, I think, from how SNEV and ISEV is going to work together. And yeah, that was what I predicted, and the other part that I did not predict it, and looks really good.
I have a question. So you both spoke very nicely about the benefits and all the great things that you went through to help build SNEV to what it is today. did you want to speak a little bit about the challenges you guys faced? Because obviously this isn't something easy to build, especially with balancing a PhD or a postdoc and things like that.
Sure. Can I go first, Sarah?
Go.
Yeah, I think Sarah already mentioned about some of the challenges we face. So I'll start with that. Time zone. Managing the time zone for virtual meeting, that was one of the most challenges I personally had, and I'm sure everybody on the ECM they experienced that. So for me, it was challenging because I was president and I started this idea. I had this like responsibility to make some network, and given that we had the meeting, for example, I remember there were so many ECM meeting we had where it was midnight in New Zealand and then it was like afternoon in US. So the timing was very challenging, and we had 12 members, and I used to get emails saying that, hey, I'm not able to join on Monday evening. Can you do it Tuesday? And then there were 3 other members saying that, okay, can you do it Wednesday? It was very challenging for me because I was in the middle, and I wanted to make everyone happy and motivate them. So that's what was important. I want to motivate everyone and encourage them. Okay, guys, let's work together. And so I had to sacrifice a lot in terms of my schedule, and in terms of not thinking that it's midnight for me or it's early morning or it's late in the night. So the time zone was really the key challenge for me. In terms of balancing PhD, so that was okay for me. I mean, I did not face challenges in terms of like how I balance my PhD and SNEV. So my supervisor, Andy Hill, he supported a lot for both like during my PhD as well as with the SNEV idea. So I was so lucky that having his support. So I think I did not face any challenges in terms of balancing time between the SNEV and the PhD. And maybe that's mainly also coming from me being in home most of the time because of the lockdown and also this coronavirus time. The other challenges I guess we had was there were several like industries or the company they approach us, for example, for sponsorship, and so there were things that I was not sure how to approach it because that was not our intention. Like how we're going to have whether we're going to register a bank or there were so many things about legal stuff that I was not sure. And for me, the challenge was I had to do lots of reading and search. And again, it was a hard time to not be able to respond to someone without knowing their knowledge. So I had to search a lot and then respond them. And again, it was a teamwork. So I think everybody acknowledged that making a team works and is not easy, especially if you don't know your team members like before. So it just everything started virtually. I think that was the main challenges I guess I experienced. But things were become really smooth probably in 2021 July or August. I think once we become established, and then I had Sarah, so she was actually working very closely with me. Like I would say, like at some point the vice president and president maybe swapped. So we were not like really thinking about who is vice president or president. So she helped a lot, and I think we were able to overcome those challenges as a team eventually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Laura, maybe you can add some.
So in my case, like time zone, definitely, and we also still struggle with time zone to even put the SNEV sessions together, because once in a while we get an email like, oh, you have a lot of time zones that are not good for Asia, but the thing is that we have the speakers and we have to abide by the speakers' time zone. So if they are from Europe, we cannot ask them to be speaking at like 12 a.m. So that's a bit of a challenge because we kind of want to put sessions together for everyone, and sometimes the time zone is a challenge for that. That's why we try to record all the sessions we can and post them online, so at least nobody like really misses out. Arranging times for the monthly meetings is a bit of a challenge. I always try. Amir also tried to do that at this time, where some will be more like suitable for the Asia Pacific, others will be more suitable for America. Now I am in America, so I have to try to make them suitable for me, for Europe and for Asia. Sometimes it's a struggle, but I think we have been doing quite okay. People are quite understandable of like joining at 11 p.m. or joining at 8 a.m. So that kind of works out okay. Other struggles, I think that sometimes I really want to motivate everyone from the ECM, and sometimes I fear that just like I'm not making people like really feel that their work is appreciated. So I always try to make sure that everyone likes to work, is fine. If everyone has any trouble, or if someone like many people, they are doing their PhDs and they need to write a thesis or they need to prepare for defending, like they just need to let us know that they need the time, so we kind of like know. But sometimes it can be a struggle to like make sure that people are like feel supported but also like still contribute to SNEV. So that balance sometimes is like a bit of a challenge. And I think the rest is kind of like what Amir said, like at the start, all the like legal stuff where could we have a bank account? We are international, so what country would we be in? That kind of like was a bit of a struggle. That's why SNEV ended up not being a society, but rather a network. And we had ISEV helping us a lot with all the monetary issues, like ISEV would give us the prizes for the competitions because we couldn't really get like sponsorship from any companies. So ISEV was like really helpful on that. But I think in the end we kind of like overcome all the challenges and we always find like a balance to make it work.
As a member, if I want to say, you're just talking about time zone challenge, but for me, our SNEF sessions was so interesting that I was putting alarm to just wake up and join the meeting. Yeah, it was, and the postdoc talk were so helpful for me. Catch-up meetings, it was so fun. I mean, they were all like helpful for me in helping me to study more and give me motivations. And I just wanted to ask about what happened to one flash meeting. I don't know, there was just 1 minute presentations. I have one of the, I gave one presentation there, and that was start of presenting in English for me because
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we had like one or two of those. To be fair, they kind of like they started very late in the transition between the first SNEV ECM and the second SNEV ECM. So then we had changes on the events team, we had changes on the design media team. So kind of some things that we had started didn't really carry on, but it's a nice thing to bring back, like if you're saying that you like them. And I never thought about it, but yes, like people speaking in English for a bigger audience, training their English is also a great opportunity. So maybe in the next ECM we can talk with the events team and suggest those flash presentations to come back, because they were really fun. I think I gave one at the start and I thought they were really nice, but yeah, they just happened at like a transition time, so that's why they didn't carry on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was a great opportunity for students like me, bachelor students or early researcher, to give their idea to those studying postdoc or PhD, or even I remember we have some professors in our meetings. That was a very great opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's something nice for you to mention, because SNEV original, the idea was to just be for students and our main audience were students. But we started seeing like some PIs joining our talk, and we found that like, oh, they are actually interested in what we're putting together. So that was like something really nice that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I have another question. I guess we have to wrap up soon. So this will be a final question that you both can kind of spend some time answering. So maybe first Amir can start, since you're kind of the father in a way.
Oh, no, don't got it.
And
No,
SNEV is kind of like
I think SNEV was the starting family. We don't know who the father is. Everything is starting family.
That's understandable. But where do you see your child SNEV going in the future? How would you like to see it develop in your own opinion?
I like to see a SNEV to be really established network in future, where, for example, it's not limited only to science, so it's going beyond science. So that's what I like. For example, people can use the SNEV as a platform to have a network, and also working, for example, towards I think anything behind the science, not really having presentation or just talking about the exosome. So should be things behind that, because I think from my understanding in past 4 years, people actually using this SNEV for lots of at the first time experiences or first time opportunity, for example for their presentation, for networking, and also for collaboration, also for getting some job as well, like job opportunities. So I think those things can apply for any other field as well. It's not limited to the exosome or extracellular security research. um, yeah, I think that's, and I think now it should be go as a parallel or working closely with the ISEF, so it should be really good. And I'm actually looking forward to see what will happen. So some of our events and program. I just want to add something about the flash talk that Nazanin mentioned. So I wrote it down in my notebook now to make sure that I remember to say about this again in our ECM we have soon. So Nazanin, so when we started the SNEV, so we tried different events, different things. So again, we were evolving. So we were not sure what could be a good event, what could not be. So we tried different things. And like Sarah mentioned, for example, the flash talk may happen right before when we had the transition. So we forgot about that. But I personally think that's really good things, and we should consider bringing the flash talk again. And yeah.
One other things I wanted to say. EV community, they are so friendly. I mean, when I email people to ask questions, they don't they friendly answer me. But in other fields, I don't get this much collaborating things. I think SNEV was an important part of making this community this much friendly. I don't know if you are agree with me or not, but
No, I definitely agree. I do feel as if SNEV has had an impact on the community, on the EV community, especially with as Amir mentioned earlier, especially with students and researchers from developing countries where they may not have enough money to travel to international conferences and present their work. I think here we provide a platform for them to kind of not only share their work but also speak with other researchers and connect and collaborate. So 100%. Yeah, just another the same question again to Sarah. I mean, I know you've been the president for the past 2 years, if I'm wrong, and soon you will step down from your position. Is there anything that you would like to see SNEV go towards in another direction once you kind of release the reins to someone else?
I think I agree with Amir. Like my biggest want for SNEV, like what I really wanted SNEV to accomplish is just be more than just a science platform, because we already kind of have ISEV for that. So I wanted SNEV to be really focused on just develop self-development of the students. So teach the students how you can network, even like Nazanin said, opportunities for them to just speak English when you're not in a English speaking country. So now that we are part of ISEV, officially part of ISEV, I'm quite excited to also know how ISEV sees SNEV position on the EV field. But to be fair, they are super supportive of SNEV. The ISEV board is constantly just paying us compliments, saying how important SNEV is, and kind of like what you said, Yonis. I think that SNEV did bring the students from the EV field a bit closer, because all had a common place where people could meet and talk and discuss ideas. They knew who they could reach for if they needed something. So I think that I just hope that SNEV carries on with this very focus on the ECRs, on the students, mostly on the self-development, and just giving them the tools to be better scientists, but also just thriving, not because the science is a bit relative, or what the field that you're within the EV field, what is the other field that you're related with. But in terms of career development, that's how I would really like SNEV to support the students, and that's how I see that SNEV can really thrive and shine.
No, I definitely agree. I think also the benefit of not making this a society, because I think now lots of countries who work on extracellular vesicles, they all have their own national societies, and yeah, they're great, and I think they're useful for having a bit more of a professional, formal form of trying to present your science and talk about these things. The SNEV can kind of be its own thing, and here we're a bit.
Yeah. I think SNEV is a bit more global, isn't it? Like the societies is for their own country, which is fine, and then we all get together under ISEV as internationally. But in terms of students, there wasn't like really something just focus on the students, because you have the PIs, and the PIs kind of like already know each other because they collaborate, because they work on different things. It was the students that if it wasn't on your own lab, you wouldn't meet other students unless you went to conferences and networking. And like for like people in like the less development countries, going to conferences is not that easy. So even having the virtual conference, SNEV really tried to have the virtual conference to give the same opportunities to everyone. So it doesn't matter if you are from Africa, China, Europe, South America, everyone could come together under the same conference and share the same work. So I think that those are like, that's what SNEV really like went for, just supporting the students like globally, not just like a specific chapter.
Yeah, you also definitely hit the nail on the head when you mentioned Maimona's experience of not being from a lab that specifically focused on extracellular vesicles, and so she can kind of dive in to a separate network where there's people with the expertise, with knowledge, in a more informal way, and not having to feel like you're going behind your PI's back.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And in the case of Maimona, like when she joined her PhD, there wasn't even like a Malaysia EV society. There is one now, but these are a few countries that have had their societies showing up now. So the ECRs from those countries were kind of like a bit unsupportive. They still have ISEV, of course, but in terms of ECR like level, there wasn't really anything there. So yeah, that's where SNEV showed up.
Yeah. If I want to talk, I will again continue hour on hour because it's so interesting for me. I want to know more about your experience of these 4 years of making events and also e-meetings. But if you want to add anything, tell us, Amir, Sara, how was it? And then we can stop recording, yeah.
Okay, maybe I can add a little bit if it's okay to you and Jonas. I hope it's okay with the time limit we have. I think I want to first thanks to all the supervisors, of our ECM. So because I remember some of the students in the ECM, they said that maybe they feel that the supervisor are not happy because the student like the commitment with the student network, and also like they're spending too much time on being, for example, in charge of a SNEP. But again, as I mentioned hundreds of times, this was not something that you like. It was based on your own decision. Like it was a volunteering work, and I just want to thank all the supervisors who supported their students to become the SNEP ECM. And also I want to thanks to all the ECMs because I think they are very, very talented. And like I can give you some examples. For example, the media team, or like what Nazanin doing now on Yunus, or Puya with design team, or Leon with the newsletter, and all those works that we initiated day one. Nobody knows how to start it. Not at all. Like we just started from simple idea. We had the simple idea. We had to do lots of reading, research, and also troubleshooting to create what actually is happening now. And I think it was too much work for everyone, but I think that was a big achievement in terms of our initial goals. And then I also want thanks to ISEF, like Sarah mentioned, they supported us a lot. Again, the first virtual conference we had with the awards that they've been providing to the winners of the virtual conferences, and the support with the platform, the Zoom platform, so many other supports. These are just simple examples that from the past 3-4 years. Those is what I want to add it. Also, one more thing I want to add it as well is that what is interesting is that with this all the 4 years, the 2 rounds of the ECM we had, I think I only met Johnny and Leon. So I've not physically actually met any of the SNEV ECM yet. So like Sara and I've been working more than 4 years together.
Yeah,
very
and we've
closely,
never seen each other.
and we never met each other.
And it's so crazy because Joni ended up coming to Boston, so she works in the same building I work. So she was the first ECM person that I met. I mean, Sara from the design team, she works with me, so I met Sara. But Joni was like the first original one that I met. And then I was lucky enough to meet Natalie last year on ISEV, and Tom as well. And Liam was also at ISEV, which was quite crazy to have like so many ECM members in Seattle. So that was quite nice. But yeah, it's crazy how we have been working together for so long and never been physically together.
Exactly, and I think that's always like when I'm thinking about this thing, I say, okay, at one point I need to gather all these people together, just having something physically happen, like not in virtual world, something in physically happen, so that I meet everyone. Yeah, so I think that's all from me, and I'm very happy and glad to hear about what Jonas you're experiencing, as well as Nazanin and Sara. So I think this is very good moment for me to feel that things that we started 4 years ago, it just makes everyone really feel motivated and happy and excited. So that's all from me. Thank you.
I would like to add to what Amir said, like besides ISEV, the ECM, everyone that has supported us, I would really like to thank everyone, every member from SNEV, because it was the members' enthusiasm that kept us going. Because if nobody had like showed any interest for SNEV, showed up to any of the talks, any of the sessions, engaged with us in Twitter, sent us an email, we would feel that like nothing was really moving forward. But everyone was so enthusiastic. And last year in Seattle, when SNEV had a few sessions put together, and so many people came to us like thanking me for what SNEV did. It was so like special, and I felt like SNEV really did a great job, and we actually have an impact. That's like the best thing. Like Amir said, I get so happy to feel that it's actually like an impact that came from SNEV. So I would just like to add to thank everyone that like supported us from the start and believed in SNEV, and he keeps carrying on believing in us.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for doing these events, meetings, and making SNEV, because this is a very great opportunity for students. I'm still a student, and you give me this opportunity to making podcasts and presenting and contacting with people that researchers and professors working on UV. Because of being a SNEV member, they answer my emails even. So that's a very great opportunity for students. If there is any student out of SNEV and they're interested about this field, I recommend them to join SNEV and be part of it, because these people really help you to,
Oh, thank you, Nazani. We need your last 1-2 minutes of tonight podcast for the promotional video about SNEV and SNEV election. We need that.
Okay. We will make a reel with this and put it on our Instagram.
Yeah, because soon we're going to have a SNEV election. Maybe Sarah, you can add a little bit on that as well.
Yes. So we will have the SNEV election in July. We will be having a call for members for our podcast team to help Nazanin, for the newsletter team, and for the events team. So that will be released next week possibly, and then we will have the elections in end of June, July, and then there's going to be a send out email, kind of like what ISEV does, for the community to approve if they agree with the new ECM, and then we will be announcing the new ECM in the end of July, and you will start taking charge in September. So if you would like to be part of the SNEV ECM and like Nazanin say, help all the students, yes, please apply, and we'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
And just to add to that, I recently joined, and so if people are listening and thinking about joining, do it. It's very painless, very pain-free. You don't have to do a lot of work. Because thanks to all the hard work done by the people before you, and it's a great network to join. You feel like you're among friends, even though you haven't met them in person.
Yes. Thank you, Anya.
Okay. Thank you so much. We can say bye to our audience as well.
Yes. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Nazanin and Yonis. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nazanin, Yonis, and
Bye.
Sara, and thanks
Bye,
to
Yonis.
those who are listening. Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Okay.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.